And we're back talking about medical assistance in dying. We heard from Bernadette just recently there about what's happening south of the border. They've been doing this for 20 plus years longer than Canada. Now we're going to talk about what's happening here in Canada with medical assistance in dying. I'm pleased to be joined by Barbara Kay. She's a columnist with the National Post. Barbara, thank you for joining me today. I want to ask you just about how this has evolved in Canada. It seemed to start off as sort of an option for patients who were terminally ill, that were suffering, and it seems like it's expanded to many other different services. Could you tell me sort of about this expansion and what's happened with medical assistance in
Sure.
dying in Canada?
Sure. In 2015, the Supreme Court decided that it was Canadians with irremediable or terminal conditions with the end foreseeable to have the right to euthanasia, or as
Mm-hmm.
it's known, the euphemism is medical assistance in dying.
Mm-hmm.
And that right quickly was broadly supported across Canada. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but not long after that, other people came forward that said, "Well, I have a disability that I don't want. It's not terminal, but it's causing me too much suffering. I should have the right too." This was foreseeable because that's what happened in Europe. And so, very quickly, the pressure of activist groups, Dying with Dignity, and all that started pushing for broadening out the scope. So we are now faced with Bill C-7, which will allow for uh, medical assistance in dying for those with mental health suffering that they feel is irremediable. It may be irremediable, so they feel that their suffering is the same as if it was physical, and that is broadly supported politically. Interestingly, it's also fairly widely supported even by young people, or for young people. There was a poll taken by amongst undergraduates who support uh, physical suffering leading to MAID by 77% of them agreed that that was fine, or sorry, mental health problems agreed that was fine for older people. 77% supported it for older people, but about
Mm-hmm.
50% supported it for younger people too. And that's young people
Mm-hmm.
supporting MAID for young people. That was to me a rather shocking statistic. So it shows
Mm-hmm.
that this has become very normalized in Canada, the idea of death by the state, and it is now considered a treatment plan rather than a philosophical question of does the state have the right, or do people have the right to ask for this? That used to
Mm-hmm.
be the way it was framed. Now it's broadly accepted, and it's just a question of what's your, who gets it. Um, so it's really a treatment plan, and more than any kind of a philosophical issue. And you know,
But just to clarify, are Canadians on board with medical assistance in dying in cases where there's a terminally ill patient and this is sort of
Mhm.
helping to end someone or help someone end their suffering? Or are they also on board with expanding it to basically whenever someone wants medical assistance in dying that the state would provide it?
They are broadly in agreement that for terminal and people that are suffering and at the end of life or close to the end of life,
Hmm.
I would say that's a consensus amongst Canadians. For
Right.
for the add-ons, disabilities, mental health issues, poverty, loneliness, these are now acceptable reasons to ask for uh, medical assistance in dying. So they are not on board for that. And, there's a whole range of polling statistics on who is and who isn't, what demographics are. But broadly speaking, you could say that there's a lot of consternation amongst Canadians, not only about not only about who should be eligible, but also about the push to force people who don't want to perform these endings of life. that they should be forced to. That's a whole other issue too, and they are not on board for that broadly.
Okay, we have to take a commercial break, but when we come back, I want to put you in the hot seat, Barbara, and ask you what you would do if you're minister to address the situation. We'll be back with more right after the break.